Hour number 3, Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game here on this Friday. Hope you're having a good day so far. Chasey McCabe alongside Connor Newt, Nick Frazier, TD still hanging out, and we're excited to have back on the show comedian TJ Miller, who is in studio with us. He's going to be at Zanies this weekend for sold-out shows.
There is no reason
there you go.
for me to be here.
Yeah, people waited too long.
They waited too long, and I think you guys should be disappointed in yourselves because everybody's loving the shows. But you can't really love that you waited to purchase tickets.
I know.
You're invited. You can come to any show.
Thank you. Okay.
It's standing room only.
Yeah, I'll stand in the back.
But you can see over everybody. You're a tall guy.
I know. I got a great view of the stage. How much fun is Zanies, playing Zanies? Because it's so
really
intimate.
It's one of the best clubs in the United States, and it's fun because I improvise, so it's always different. But it has a balcony. It's a very, very big club. And last night I was joking that there's this one guy who was lit and he looked like a mafioso Don. And like he was looking down at me to decide whether or not he'd let me live, kind of. So I was joking about that. And I said, What's your name? What's your last name? And he was like, Marciano. Oh. And I was like, that's hilarious. Don Marciano. And he was like, it's Dustin. And I go, what? And he goes, Dustin Marciano. And I go, yeah, I know. I didn't ask your first name. Everybody laughed. And then I realized he thought that I had incorrectly assumed that his first name was Donald. And that's why I was calling him Don. I was like, you're Italian and you don't know Don Corleone, right? Exactly. So that was pretty fun. But it's a great club. I riff a lot there. And I just came from Chattanooga. So I'm doing a lot of like Tennessee material, kind of talking about Tennessee and how you guys are in the afternoon, everything closes early because I guess you're allergic to money. Dude, I'm from New York. Like, I came in from New York, and it's like, we're like, what? You close at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday? What's going on with you guys?
McDonald's stays open.
Everybody, yeah, right, perfect.
That's why we're fat.
Yeah, so. that's all I wanted. No, but even the gun range was like, we already did last call. I'm like, what? Are you a bar? What's happening here? But I think we're going to take, my wife is going to go. We're going to do a shooting range and then go to a sound bath afterwards.
Oh, nice.
So she's one of those women.
Okay. All right.
Sound bath.
When you do a comedy club like Zanies, are Thursday nights different from Friday nights and Friday nights different from Saturday, meaning the audience? Because I feel like once you get into the weekend, you're like, I'm going to cut loose.
That's a good question because some people are like, oh, it must be a lot of fun. Thursday's really fun because it's people that are starting their weekend early. They're like, I'm not even going to wait until Friday to start partying. And they're really excited that the first people they want to see you, the first night that they're able to see you. And then Friday is kind of, people are a little sleepier. It's not bad, but they're kind of, the first show is just usually pretty tame, pretty reserved. And then the second show on Friday is like a all-out disaster. People are wasted. They're tired. They got off work and started drinking immediately, especially in Tennessee. It's like the second they clocked out, they are just housing Surfside, iced tea and vodkas, just drinking. And they go to dinner, but they don't really eat enough. And they're drinking at dinner, and then they come and they're so drunk, and so they're rowdy and yelling stuff. And so sometimes that feels more like crowd control. It's like performing at a zoo sort of. And then Saturday, the first show is usually fantastic. And the second show, they haven't been, they've had time to rest sort of. And so that second show on Saturday is usually really fun. But I sometimes like Thursday or Sunday shows the best because those people are a little, not characteristic. They're kind of coloring outside the line, so to speak. But it's fun. Every show at Zanies is fun. And people yell at me a lot. Not just here, but in general. I don't know if I look like a guy that you want to yell at or something, but it is it can get pretty rowdy at Zanies. But I like it. It's always Tennessee rowdy is kind of almost supportive rowdy. Like they're yelling stuff like, "Oh man, I love you, Deadpool, man." Like, all right, well, thank you. But it's a lot of fun, and I like Nashville a lot. I think. Sometimes you guys get a bad rap. It is a bit of a bachelorette party that has a city somewhere inside of it.
Pedal taverns.
Yeah, exactly. Tractor time. But outside of that, I have a great friend who's also our travel agent, and she lives here. And so we're going with her to this restaurant called Lyra tonight. And, it's cool to see it through her eyes because if you go and you hang and you see Nashville through a local's eyes, it's just a different experience than if you come here sort of as a. And I was on TV this morning with a young band called Sidecar, and they were sort of, they're aspirational musicians and the singer-songwriter guy. And I think that's cool. I think it's cool to see all these, young, talented musicians. And so I'm going to take Kate, that's my wife, Kate, I'm going to take her to Broadway during the day tomorrow. And I told her, you're going to see musicians that are just as good as the musicians playing at night.
Yeah.
During the day, they just haven't gotten to that place where they're getting those nighttime slots.
I'm doing a Broadway day tomorrow, too, so we might run into each other.
Are you really? Where?
We're going to just bounce to different places.
Okay, yeah, I hope to see you. I thought you were going to do a remote. I was like,
No. We're
live from Kid Rock Studios.
My girlfriend
Chase
has
McCabe and No Big Joe. Still at home sick. Washing his hands over and over.
He needs to, probably. No, we're just doing a day.
101 point wash.
When you do these kind of things, I know you like to riff on the audience a little bit. Do you scout out before, or do you just go up there and be like, "This guy looks like someone I could take it to"?
I usually, I sometimes, but usually I would only go out and look if somebody's like being disruptive or the comic before me is like, "Dude, you got to watch out for that table." But for the most part, I come out and it just strikes me right away. There's this guy last night. He had just this unruly wandering beard and long hair. And I said, you look like a guy who, if you don't play Dungeons and Dragons, you still know a lot about it. And then I said, and your hair and your beard look like they're in a race to get to your nipples. And I was like, your beard it's growing at such a rate that it's starting to suck the mustache into your face to use that hair for the beard. That was Kate's favorite joke last night. But, it's just, I do, people go, oh, you do a lot of crowd work. Kind of. I don't know that I've maybe asked people 5 times in my life, like, what do you do for a living? I just don't do that. But I talk about the crowd a lot, and I sort of improvise and imagine about the crowd, and that can be a lot of fun. But I was doing a lot of Tennessee material last night. I probably riffed like 30 minutes of the whole thing. And then I'm working on we're on a new hour called TJ Miller, Much Darker. And so I'm doing some dark material about my mother's death and my mother-in-law killed someone and stuff like that, just little kind of fun stuff, and yeah, so it's been really fun. But the crowds are so good here, so it's almost like they make you better. And I don't even mean I think I need to rise to the challenge. They're so good that you sort of zero in and you end up doing the best performances that you possibly can do because it's such good audiences, but it's awesome.
TJ, I'm from an era like you got Sam Kinison, Andrew Dice Clay, Eddie Murphy,
for sure.
Richard Pryor, those types. They probably couldn't exist in this era because everybody's in such a rush to be offended. And you talk about how sometimes you'll get on the crowd. How have you managed to navigate those waters where people want to be offended and are quick to be?
First of all, I love how you said that everyone's in such a rush to be offended. I've never heard anyone say it like that, because it's
true.
The truth.
That's
They're standing at the ready to have a reason that you've hurt their feelings and that they can become a victim in this situation. And I think the big thing for me is I don't really want to offend anybody. I'm really focused on making people happy because I think life is sort of fundamentally tragic, and all of this is really either sad or scary or both. So I don't do, but I did a joke in Chattanooga, and it was, I said, I can do it in Tennessee, and I said, you're all a bunch of these idiots, and then I go, oh, sorry, I know that we can't use that word anymore. I feel like a real, and then everyone, but I thought, hey, it's Tennessee, they get the joke, but still in Chattanooga, they were like, we don't use the R word here. And so that was interesting too. But I don't really talk about many things that I think people would get offended about. So I don't have a lot of, and it's kind of, I think you can imagine. It's just, it doesn't get you anywhere. Yeah. It doesn't really make you that many fans, unless that's your thing, is being offensive. And it doesn't really do anything for me because I am really focused on people having a great time. Like we were talking about this recently. with a couple other comedians. If someone's in like the front row and they're not having a good time, it's like impossible to ignore that person.
Yeah.
And so then I become so focused on getting them to have a good time. I have a friend, a comic, Cash Levy. I do a podcast with Cash Levy called Cashing In with TJ Miller. And it's an interview show, but he's had a tough time getting interviews, like guests. So I've been the only guest on the show for 7 years. And I don't know how to say it, but I'm a guy who's focused on, like, Cash will be so distracted by somebody not having a good time on the show that he'll stop looking in that direction. He'll just play to the other side of the room, which is too bad. But I'm really focused on making sure everybody has a great time. That's not going to happen. It's just statistically, there are going to be people that have a bad time at your show. But yeah, I don't really tread into the offensive world very often. People go, well, you know, with hecklers, are you mean? Or no, I kind of do. I do a good job with hecklers of sort of making them look stupid, but not being mean to them. Unless there are some white women, though, that you just have to tear down. They're so entitled, you just can't believe that they're still talking.
Especially here. I mean, in this city, there's so many of them.
Yeah, it is. It's a weird thing. It's always like kind of middle-aged white women. It's like white women in their 40s, sometimes 50s, and they just will not shut up. And so after a while, you have to get them. There's a girl last night, and she just kept yelling and being mean. I was like, you see how you're acting? This is why you're not in a successful marriage. And it's like everybody's cracking up. And then I'm like, look, you guys are laughing, but we all kind of know it's true. And then I go, because, you know, even if you do have a husband, every night he's kind of going, what did I could have done better. But it's, you know, no offense to white women. I married one for some reason, but you know, it's a challenge in the sense that I don't ever want to hurt anybody's feelings. Yeah. But I have a responsibility to tell people to be quiet and to get, you know. And what I do that sometimes people get pissed about is I'll make fun of their city. You know, like I'll really go after the place where they live, and they don't get that I'm joking, and so that will make some people angry. They'll be like, "Don't talk about Nashville like that." It's like, guys, relax. I make fun of everything. That's the idea. That's another thing that I think is helpful is if you make fun of everybody. But it's so funny the different in New York we'll talk about anything. Like I was in London, I did a show, and I made fun of some guy in the front row, and everybody's like, "Oh." Like, what is going on? It turned out because he was Indian, like everyone thought it wasn't okay that I made fun of him. Whereas in New York, you know, you're like, oh, this black guy probably doesn't want to be sitting that close to this Jew because he's got to keep his hand on his wallet. And it's like you're doing those jokes about everybody, so it's really not that big of a deal, you know?
Right.
But I think, you know, but I was in Dallas, Texas. I told this story recently. This is really amazing. So these two very flamboyant gay guys in the front row, and I'm doing jokes, and I see them. I mean, they look crazy. I mean, they're dressed like, whoa. And I go, oh, homosexuals. And all the crowd goes, oh. And I was like, guys, we're in Texas. They know they're homosexuals. It's like, you guys are homosexuals, right? And they're like, and I turn to the audience, I'm like, you're the problem. I just correctly assessed that they're homosexuals. You guys are like, he just called you gay, dude. Oh my God!
He hit the little head sway.
I mean, come on, guys. So yeah, it's a tough time right now for so many reasons. I think the really frustrating thing is like most people don't care. All the people online and those represent such a small minority.
Keyboard warriors.
They're just keyboard warriors, and you're going, what? And everybody else is like, okay, fine. It's just a joke, you know? Mm-hmm. And I almost feel like Chappelle, I talked to him about this. I feel like Chappelle had a really tough moment where he felt so very much vilified and crucified, and he felt responsible to return and to address stuff. But he almost did too much of that. And everybody was kind of like, dude, why are you wasting our time with this? None of us care. We don't care. We don't think that you did this horrible thing. And oh my God, you made a joke about trans people and now it's going to happen. You know, and so that's another thing that can happen. You can sort of be attacked and then think, I've got to respond. It's like reading the comments about you. I mean, I can't even imagine how much you're reading comments and they're like, he has this giant penis, he's so smart, he's hilarious.
They were talking about
everything about sports. Yeah, you get the exact same comments.
Yeah.
And so, do you have to dump that or no?
No, I think it's all right.
But yeah, I think if you look at the comments about yourself, it's just so much like vitriol.
I get where I don't get on Twitter unless I'm doing the show because it's just like I don't care anymore.
It could get.
Yeah, and I try and do all output with my social media. I don't want to intake anything. I just want to be putting stuff out there. But you have to look at some stuff, and I say for every one nice comment, which there are, I just expect that there's going to be 10 terrible comments. But I think it really is all just noise, and we all know it. But we're that's what these social media we're addicted to, like hearing what people are saying about us, and then if they're being mean to us, we have to show face and say that. So that's what I love about doing stand-up, especially at Zanies, which puts your phone in a yonder case.
Yeah.
Which I love that.
I love it. And then so last night, my wife Kate got so pissed at me. But last night I said some stuff that I could not say. It wasn't like offensive stuff. It was like racist, weird, like I mean, it was against white women, but like I said some stuff that I just couldn't say, and it was really nice. The audience was like, this is just refreshing that TJ is just talking about this thing and this Hollywood thing and this, and I think that's really nice. And I think people get to just stay away from their screens and like actually laugh.
Yep.
And not have to think about anything. Yeah, and
experience
just
the
listen.
moment.
Yeah, I'm working on a joke. I riffed it last night about when you don't have your phone, it's so strange because you're like, what do I do now? Do I talk to this person that I don't know, or do I guess I can just think?
Yeah,
Look at all the rafters in here. I wonder how many rafters. And so I like that that's part of the experience there. And you get to eat like a 9-year-old.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, likes that. A little chicken tender.
I'm all about it. Yeah.
Attendees?
Yeah. I mean, he can just tell. Speaking of childhood, I mean, I grew up with your voice on my television. Gravity Falls is one of my favorite shows of all time.
You must be
watch it.
autistic.
Yeah, a little bit. Not actually. What was that process like, doing voice work for that?
That was really, really good. And I was joking just then, but it's true. It's like my wife's best friend's brother is severely autistic, and he watches Gravity Falls over and over and over again. And I think really smart kids love Gravity Falls because there's so much there. It has so many layers to it. It's you go in. I was in How to Train Your Dragon, and then I started to get more and more voice work. And people say my voice is very famous, but people say that my voice is so distinct. I can't really hear that. You know how you don't really hear your own voice. But thank you, cloves, cigarettes, marijuana, and yelling ended up being the good stuff. That ended up helping me make rent. But you go in there and they have the script and you read the lines, but then I improvise. Yeah. So I would just improvise. And because it's all digital, you can do. I love it because you do a movie or on TV, you get like three takes or 5 takes. If you're lucky, 6 takes or something. But with voiceover, you can do 10, 15, 20 different sort of shots at making it happen. And so it's really freeing. Sounds so stupid, but it's really cool. It feels like you can take anything and run with it for any distance. So it was good. But thank you for saying that. Yeah, this kid came up to me who was working at comedy club. I forget which one, but he came up and he goes, "Dude, you're the voice of a generation." I was like, "That's the nicest thing." He was like, "No, I'm serious. Like all of us listened to you growing up."
Yeah.
And it's pretty weird to think about that. And one guy goes, "Oh yeah, you're in Yogi Bear 3D." And I was like, "Yeah, but I was like a real person in that." The guy stops and he goes, "Yeah, but you're still using your voice, right?" I was like, "Yes, I'm still using my voice." But yeah, I mean, and I love that. But I pay attention to people's voices a lot. Like you have a very specific radio voice. That's why I like doing radio a lot, is because 2 reasons. One, because I have a lot of respect for radio because it's improvisation.
Yeah.
Also, and are we in the third hour? You
Yep.
said. I mean, you're doing hours of just riffing. Yep. And it's podcast. I'm like, no, because podcasts a lot of times people want in radio. You can't leave any dead air. You can't just be quiet for like 10 seconds. That's not going to work at all. And then also, I just love voices. I love people's voices, and the best voices are in radio. But yours is interesting because it's low. It's not super gravelly, but it does have some gravelly qualities to it. And then there's this guy Gino in Chattanooga, and he's on like a top 40 station. His was really weird because it wasn't low at all or gravelly, but it was sort of smooth. It was kind of, a little bit higher register, but you felt kind of like he was about to put on the hits and take off your pants. So that was really interesting. Yeah, right.
So you're Zanies tonight and tomorrow.
Sold out
shows.
Everything's sold out.
That is fantastic.
Don't even try and come and see the show. You can stand outside and cry, but that's about it.
You can also check out Smooth Peanut Butter, which you actually recorded at Zanies.
In Nashville, and I have a special on my channel called Dear Jonah, and that was filmed in Nashville at Zanies as well. So I love it here. I don't know what's going on.
Well, we love you.
You got to get on one of those barrel tractors.
We'll look for you on that tomorrow. TJ, good to see you again. Thank you so much
Thanks
for doing
having me. And I just want to ask you, what's your favorite place to shop?
My favorite, I don't like to shop
at all
that much. Not really.
Do you
Target.
do it on the internet?
I mean, I go to Target.
I was going to say, I feel like you're a guy who kind of just gets whatever and you make it work.
I do. That's 100%
right?
true.
That's how he is the boss.
I mean, these are free shirts, so I wear these
all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
but like you're styling and profiling.
Oh, well, I appreciate
and you've got this air about you that says, I don't care and I'm not going to.
That's pretty accurate.
I just feel like
he's
you're
a college kid.
Yeah,
So.
I feel like you grab whatever, throw it on, and you're like, this is working.
100%.
It's the swagger. It's that gigantic radio-voiced penis. Thanks, guys. I'll not see you at Zanies. Tonight, 2 shows sold out. Tomorrow, 2 shows sold out. You can get my peanut butter or my hot sauce at www.tjmillerdoesnothaveawebsite.com. Teenage Millionaire on Instagram. Not TJ Miller on the artist formerly known as Twitter. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. I just released a special called The Philosophy Circus, which is a lot of fun. Juggling. Audience member plays trombone. Terrible ventriloquism, which you're into. Look at this guy. And thanks for having me.
Thank you, TJ. Appreciate it.
Tell Big Joe to wash his hands.
I will. Don't worry. TJ Miller, he'll be at Zanies this weekend. It's sold out. We'll have more coming. Chasing Big Joe here on 102.5 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game here on this Friday. The trade deadline has come and gone. And looks like the Predators did not make any more moves. Of course, their stuff will trickle out sometimes after the deadline, but it looks like that all the moves that were made, in the last few days are going to be everything. So that means Ryan O'Reilly did not get traded, Steven Stamkos not traded, Jonathan Marchessault not traded, and looks like Eric Haula not traded again, unless something trickles out in the next few minutes. With everything, I think Barry Trotz is going to speak this afternoon, but it looks like right now Eric Haula will stay with the Predators, as will the other names that I mentioned. So overall, I mean, I think a productive trade deadline for Barry Trotz in looking to the future.
I would say so. Yeah, you're collecting draft picks for the next guy. I think you got some great value in some of the trades you made. Michael McCarron for a second rounder, I mean, that's incredible value for a fourth-line center. So I think he's doing a good job in setting the next guy up for success. And look, I think if he were to go at this and just buy all in, I think it would be a disservice to that team because we don't know. It may have ended up working out, but based on the way things were trending before the sale began, it was looking like they were just going to be more of the same from the first, I guess, 75% of the season. So I think it would be a disservice to the team. I think it would be a disservice to the next general manager that comes in here. You don't have the option to build the things that you want. And I think it would be kind of a disservice to Andrew Brunette. I mean, if he goes out there and they don't produce with the team they have after buying in, then that just doesn't look good on his resume for the next job he's going to get. Because I don't know about you, Chase. I'm not convinced that Brunett's going to be retained with the next general manager. That's just my line of thinking. But
I mean, it would make it. I mean, look, the same thing happened with Barry Trotz. He didn't keep John Hines, and look what John Hines. There's a lot of people out there that didn't like John Hines as the coach here.
I was one of them.
Sure, he's doing a pretty damn good job in Minnesota.
Yeah.
But Barry ultimately felt Andrew Brunette was going to be better for what he wanted to do, and so he made that move. And the next GM could do the same thing. So, who knows? I think you got to get a GM in here first before, you can really think that. But I wouldn't be shocked if the GM did like a lot of GMs do and go, I want my own guy.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's kind of like, remember when we were talking about the Titans when they hired Borgonzi? Will they retain Brian Callahan? And ultimately they decided to, but it wouldn't have been out of the question for Borgonzi to just say we're going to go a different route. And hindsight is 20/20. He probably should have. But the same could be said for the Predators. I don't think the Predators are in as deep of a hole as the Titans are or were, but it is going to be a bit of a rebuild moving forward. I think you have pieces that may end up finishing their careers out here just because they're pivotal pieces to the team. Forsberg comes to mind. Yossi comes to mind. Saros with that massive contract is going to be here a while. And then you've got guys on the back end of their career that are kind of just finishing it out, and it's still producing, but finishing it out. Stamkos, O'Reilly. So the rest, you want to see the young guys develop. And I think last night was a pivotal step in that. You saw some of the play they were capable of having. You mentioned earlier Ryan Ufko.
Yep.
That's a player. Matthew Wood, that's a player. Luke
Yep.
Evangelista, that's a player. So you're seeing good things if you're a Preds fan. I realize it's disappointing to see Michael McCarron and Michael Bunting and Nick Blankenberg and guys that played, important roles on this team this year go away. And in some cases, they've been on this team for multiple years. It's sad to see them go away. And, you hope they have success going into the future. But for the sake of this franchise right now, I think Barry Trotz did about as good a job at the deadline selling as he probably could have.
I would agree. I mean, I think there's going to be people that are going to question why he didn't trade Ryan O'Reilly or, somebody like that.
Those are the people that come out of the woodshed.
And that's fair. Yeah, I said this the other day. There's people that
Did you?
360 days a year don't care about this team, and then for 5 days they want to tweet.
There's some podcasters that do that as well.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube. But I think that if he had gotten blown away, and I think he's going to speak today, and we'll see how much he wants to say, how transparent he wants to be. That was he clearly the blowaway offer wasn't there, or did he go to Ryan O'Reilly and Ryan O'Reilly was like, Barry, I really don't want to leave, and he honored that. And we can have that debate and argument too but.
Yeah, and I mean, there's contractual obligations for some of these guys. Marchessault talked about it yesterday. We played the clip before you got here, Chase, but it was Marchessault talking about, well, I don't necessarily have to leave if I don't want to. I have a no move, and I worked really hard to get that. So you don't know. That could have come into play. Stamkos obviously has that as well. O'Reilly doesn't, but they treat him as though he does. So look, if they want to be here, they have contractual obligations and rights to be here. So it's okay.
Sure. So that is kind of where things stand as of now when it comes to the Predators and the trade deadline. Kenny the mailman has called in about Run DMC. What's up, Kenny?
Chase McCabe, I got some bad news for you, buddy.
What's that?
You're one of my favorites. I hate to break bad news. You can be in radio the next 30 years, and you will not have a better interview than you had at 1 and 2 o'clock.
I was thinking that earlier, that that might be at the top.
I have to be honest. I'm 2 shades whiter than Casper and about as cool. But I loved every minute of it. Because, listen, I'm not talking just about sports radio. I'm talking about radio interviews in general. I've been listening over 50 years. And most of the time when you have a celebrity, they're just there for a few minutes. They're bored with your questions. They don't respect the interviewer. He was so happy and so energetic. Listen, he started talking about Bowles the chimp, If I didn't have my seatbelt on, I would have fell out of my truck. There's no doubt about that. I hope that song is one of his biggest ever, just because of the kindness that came through the radio and how kind he was to y'all. That is, and I think you can speak to it. That's pretty rare. Y'all have had people before that didn't even want to answer questions.
Yeah.
From you. So that was great, and we're going to have to listen to that again soon.
Thank you, Kenny.
Steve.
Thank you, Kenny. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Yeah, look, and it's funny. I appreciate when people text in and, I think at this point realize what I do behind the scenes and all of that stuff. And, we got a few texts are like, in this sports talk radio. Yeah, that is what our format is. But, if you've listened to this show in particular long enough, you will know that we hit on a lot of different things. Pop culture is a big thing that we hit on. And
someone's got some burners.
And Run DMC. I see what you did there. That was well done. Run DMC, I think, transcends, a lot of different things. And so you may not like it and want to hear just X's and O's, and we try to give you that. But we also try and cover a lot of different grounds, and it's worked for us. So that's why we do it. And we appreciate you, and I appreciate any and all feedback that I get. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent, whatever.
Real quick, I do have a little bit of news that pertains to the Titans. Alante Taylor tweeted, "New Orleans, thank you for letting me shine in the Big Easy." So that means he's probably hitting the market.
Would you sign him, TD?
That's one of the signings I think has to happen.
Yeah, I'd love to have him.
Yeah, I mean, he's feisty. He fits the scheme. As far as like that whole fast and violent. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I would sign him in a heartbeat. Would you take one of the things I did in my simulation was I took a flyer on Jeff Okudah, 1 year deal.
Man, coming out of Ohio State, I loved that.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work out. That's not a bad, betting low and possibly getting high. Greg Newsome, I think, is.
I like Greg Newsome.
Yeah, Newsome would
you
be
and I have
one.
talked about him before.
Yeah, he'd be one. But you got to kind of reinvent that secondary or the corner group.
Yeah, I mean, you're restocking the cupboard.
And look, if the mayor came back, I wouldn't hate it, but I wouldn't make it the priority either.
Yeah, they'll probably have to add a safety, whether it's the draft or veteran, but. I just can't wait to see Kevin Winston Jr. play a healthy full season, man. He's going to be good.
I would agree with that. We will come back, put a bow on things here on this Friday. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game. Chasing Big Joe on this Friday, 102.5 The Game. Connor Newt, Teron Davenport, yours truly, Chase McCabe, and Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier, behind the glass. Hope you all have had some fun. It's a rare day. We're not going to do birthdays today because we've done a lot of non-sports stuff. The trade deadline has passed. It looks like the Preds didn't do anything else, and you got legal tampering, which is going to start on Monday with the Titans. Ryan in Florida on our text line, TD, do you guys think the Titans will get Geno Smith as a backup?
No, I don't think that happens. No.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Tyrod Taylor.
Taylor.
They're going to ride it out with Will Levis.
Yeah, Will Levis.
That's a possibility, and I mean, don't rule out Jameis. If there's something like a trade or something that they.
I'd love
do,
Jameis.
I think it's a great match.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons.
Yeah. I mean, he knows the offense. He could mentor Cam in that sense.
He's been in his shoes before.
Right. He's been in these shoes. He could come in and look, if they could – I mean, do you call New York and say, hey – Will Levis for Jameis,
I would go like a seventh.
Yeah, just give him a pick.
And I would look to flip Levis to, one of those, whether it's the Rams or someone like that.
Somewhere he can develop.
Has a veteran that's about to go and could have him. I would flip. I think you could get a fifth for Levis. I would think you can.
I feel like you could.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could turn him into a fifth, like trade for and get a fifth, then I would count my losses and just be cool with that.
Mm-hmm. Or even if you package him with a pick, like let's say you package him with a pick in the top of the round to move into the bottom part of the next round, right?
Yeah.
Like you'll go let's say Skylar Bell's there, right?
Okay.
And let's say in the mid-second, let's say he's there. Just hypothetically, he's there. You package Levis and your third to bump up to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Now you're getting a top level receiver, in addition to whoever you pick at 35, whether it's a corner, a pass rusher, or whatever. I think that's something you could do.
Is there a quarterback that you think is either going to be late day 3 or undrafted that you would be content with them bringing in behind, a Cam, obviously, and a Tyrod Taylor, but to be that, hey, I'm going to take a flyer on one of these guys? Obviously, Diego Pavia's name is going to come up a lot because of the connection here at Vanderbilt, but are there others that you saw at the Combine that you might go, hey, I can see them fitting this system and being that project?
Good question.
The kid from Arkansas, he.
Yeah, but I think Taylor Green is someone that you build a different kind of. If Taylor Green and Greg Roman are the perfect match. That's why. When I think of Taylor Green, I think of Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah,
they're similar.
okay.
Even throwing motion is similar, but. I don't know, Drew Aller comes to mind right away, but he's going to require a higher draft pick than
I was going to say Nussmeier.
Than I would want it. Nussmeier, yeah. That's the Nuss bus. I would probably say Aller, but
yeah, but he could be like a 4th.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to be. Yeah, I don't really off the top like lower round guys that I would take a flyer.
Yeah, that's fair. So everything gets started, 3 o'clock, legal tampering, I think around 3 o'clock on Monday. So we'll know some stuff, before the league year starts on Wednesday. I think that's what makes this so exciting is, there's going to be some names where Titans fans are going to go, oh, okay.
And it starts flying. That's the thing I love. Where it's like, this just in. The Saints have signed. Oh, the Bills have signed. Oh, the Titans have signed.
So how does that work for you? Like with ESPN, your stuff. Like, what are the next few days going to be like from your end?
So, a lot of it is pre-write.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have about 3 or 4 pre-writes done. And that's really how it works. That you have it pre-written, but I hate to share the secret, but that's for the most part. But it's just you're constantly like this.
Yeah.
Because
you talk to people too, so you're going to know
buzz
stuff.
that you get on your phone, it's like, oh, it could be, you know what I mean? And you can't, you got to wake up early. You stay up late because it's like stuff happens now, all the way to 11 o'clock sometimes. You know what I mean? At night. So really, it's just always on alert, man. Always on alert.
Do you communicate with Schefter and Fowler and some of those guys?
Yeah. So if there's something I'm hearing, a lot of times I'll go to Schefter first because he's just so well tied in. Fowler is pretty well tied in also, but I'll go to Schefter. Hey, listen, man, I'm hearing that this, and this. Can you check in and just if I can't double source something, that's typically what happens. I'll go to him to source it further. And again, he's so well connected.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's
exciting though, man.
Oh,
it's exciting, but the whole because you've done it, man. Breaking news is nerve-wracking, man. And even when you get it from the actual source, it's just all right, he told me this, but man, if this doesn't happen, you're just oh, I don't want to look stupid.
Well, and my thing is, I've never been one that I want to break news, but if somebody tells me something, there are times I want to be like, why'd you tell me that? Because now I got to go do something about it.
And I tell you the one I hate the most is when they tell you and they be like, look, man, you can't say anything but, and you be like,
then why'd you tell me?
You just told me that A.J. Brown is about to get traded for a first and a third as long as he passes the physical. And I can't say anything. Come on, you know what I mean? It's. But I'm with you. I'm not really on my lane. I would love to even shift further into the analysis lane.
Yeah.
But I kind of got a blend of reporting and analysis now that I like. I'm not required to break a whole lot of news. I'll break every once in a while, but. Yeah, I would rather just those are waters I don't want to swim.
It's gonna be fun seeing A.J. Brown in a Patriots uniform.
Man, it made him cry when he didn't become one.
Yeah,
back in 2019. So,
I mean, look, Vrabel, and I know years have passed, but they worked very well together. And I don't know if you saw whatever podcast A.J. was on. He talked about he didn't like Vrabel at first because Vrabel was so hard on him.
Yeah.
But he realized that how much better that made him and what Vrabes was trying to do, and they need a receiver.
They need one.
I mean,
with Steph Diggs being gone, and he with Keyshawn Butte and the crew, I think would be all right.
Butte really came on.
Yeah, and I love the fact that he did, because he kind of got a raw deal coming out of LSU, and he has some stuff going on, and he bounced back. Man, it's great to see him, doing what he's doing.
Well, boys, Connor, thanks for hanging out today.
Thanks,
it was a lot of fun. TD, thanks for hanging out today.
Again, thank you.
It was a lot of fun. Everybody have a happy and safe weekend. And as we leave the show, we go into the weekend. We want you here, guys, girls. If you need to talk to somebody, reach out and talk to somebody. We're big on mental health. You can go to unitycares.com/Big Joe and learn more. Joe always sends that message, but I echo it as well. All of us here echo it. And so we want you here. Talk to somebody. Even if you're feeling good, maybe you just need to talk to somebody. Do that too. And we will always be here to listen. We'll talk to you Monday. DVD is coming up next. Peace, love, rock and roll. We'll talk to you then. 102.5 The Game.